Hey folks, Crazyclimber80 here again, and we're going to look at another video of 70s and 80s arcade game classic attract modes with the invincibility cheat in MAME or other cheats as noted. So let's look at a whole bunch more games in this video with invincibility or other cheats. We're going to start off with Anteater. In this attract mode, if you have invincibility on, your tongue will move all around the maze. You can't get bit by any insect, but the computer won't get all the dots. Your tongue can go through the floor and through the sides. It looks really, really weird. The Anteater can eventually get the queen ants at the bottom, which destroys all the enemies at once. It can go around the words and through the words. Very weird looking. It will not be affected by any insect or the spider. They can touch any part of the tongue and it won't kill the Anteater. He can't go through his own tongue. But it definitely kind of starts to look weird. I think I saw this once in the arcades. See, it's appearing at the top. Really weird. And now we're going to look at PAC-MAN, and I love this game. Even with the invincibility cheat, though, the minecart may still kill you, and it does in the attract mode. It takes a while, though. I guess in some versions, you might be able to control the PAC-MAN in at least part of the attract mode, but that's not this one. I can't remember which set this was. I think this was set 1. But yeah, he'll almost completely break the wall here, and then he'll hitch a ride with the minecart. But it's on the third screen that right here that the minecart can still kill him. Not there, but when he's off in this corner here. And then you go to the high score list. And now we're going to look at Blueprint. And once this guy picks up a second bomb and drops it in the pit, he freezes. And if you do not have the cheat on, that's the bomb. It's supposed to be a red one, I think, and it would have exploded by now. But if you do not have the cheat on that keeps the monster from eating the girl, she will die in the attract mode. And if you do, then he just won't catch her. And that'll be the end of the attract mode here, and it'll go back to the high score list. But at any rate, now we're going to look at Bubbles. And if you have the cheat on that gives you a big head or a big mouth or a giant bubble or whatever, then he'll keep diving into the drain. He'll never get popped. He'll be too big, and there won't be razor blades in his path, but he'll keep going down the drain and advancing to the next stage and getting points. This was a weird game. I couldn't really get into it. Now we're going to look at Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom. I like this game. You will play through all the stages if you have invincibility, and you'll play them all over again. There will be no bonus gained for eliminating the UFO count before the time is up, as you would in regularly playing the game. But it'll play through all the stages and over again. Yeah, I really like this. This was a precursor to Space Harrier. I would imagine Space Harrier learned a thing or two from this game, which Sega also made. It'll take a while for the ship to destroy the mothership there. Doesn't look like it doesn't look like it'll be able to, but it will eventually. Nice play. Go on. Go on. Go on. I hate that song. Now we're going to look at Bump and Jump. And this was a game for the Deco cassette system, also known as Burnin' Rubber. the game will get weird after a while. Your car was supposed to run into a dead end and crash. It will be able to drive over the water, or it'll jump spasmodically, and eventually it will be able to move through the edges of the screen and back. See, it's driving over the water. The stage won't end at a gas pump. The car will just keep on driving. And that's, a gas pump is the end of a stage in the arcade game when you regularly play. But yeah, it just drives over the water. Be nice to be able to do that. And there he goes through the edges. Weird. And now we're going to look at Dazzler. This was a kind of odd little game from Century Electronics. There's nothing special about this part of the attract mode, but it's when you go to the Donkey Kong stage. If you have invincibility here, you will get up to one of the upper platforms, and the computer will make him drop off to the right, where he would normally die. But if you didn't have if you had invincibility on, he will just freeze there and not move. And then the game will reset to the high score list. This was one of their Century's better games. It's still not great by any means. Very derivative with clunky sound effects. And it's Dazzler's attract mode with invincibility on. The character is known as our hero. Now we're going to look at the all-time classic Dig Dug, my favorite game. There is a speed cheat that allows you to just run super fast. We'll eventually look at that. But we'll also put on invincibility here. I own this game in my living room. I'm looking at it right now. But this has some interesting effects when you use invincibility or super high speed. Okay, then it goes back to the high score list eventually. Now we'll look at the speed cheat. What? Super fast. Now he's going up in the corner and using his pump. And now he's going in the bottom right corner. Just some interesting behavioral patterns from Dig Dug in this game. And I think eventually he'll go up to the top right, and then he'll wail on the pump for some reason, and then he'll go through a weird graphics change. You'll see the different sprites from the game that he'll change into. And I don't think he stops doing that, so the game will not go back to a high score list or whatever. I just find it really interesting to see what the game does when it thinks, wait a minute, I was supposed to die. What do I do now? Yeah, now he's wailing on the pump button. He's gonna cycle through the different sprites in the game. Friggin' weird. Well, now we're going to look at Donkey Kong Jr. And in this one, eventually, after I think enemies go through you or something, Donkey Kong Jr. will drop off into the water and die. Invincibility cheat will not prevent you from dying from falling in the water or an abyss. And he falls in the water in just a little bit here. I preferred Donkey Kong, the first game, although this was definitely fun in its own right. And here he falls in the water. Woo! He just has a spasmodic look that's pretty funny. And it goes back to the title screen. Now we're going to look at eyes. This is a weird, creepy little Pac-Man type of game where you shoot the dots. Eventually, you were supposed to get shot, but with the invincibility cheat on, the bullet goes right through you. And after that, your eye goes to the left. There you're supposed to be shot. And he just freezes there. Enemies can run into him, and they will die. They can try to shoot at him, but their shots will just go right through him. And it just the attract mode will just keep on going this way. Won't reset to high score list or anything. Now we're going to look at Frenzy, the sequel to Berserk. And this is kind of interesting behavior. After you were supposed to be shot, or maybe Evil Otto was supposed to go through you or something, you will eventually leave the room. You will not shoot very often. It might take a long time for you to shoot or to leave the room. The robots can shoot Evil Otto for you and eventually destroy him, but he returns immediately and faster. It's really not a great idea to try to shoot Evil Otto to make him go away, because he's just going to come back immediately and faster, or he might bring another Evil Otto with him. Note that you accrue a score in the attract mode, or the computer does. Eventually he'll leave the room. But that's the attract mode for Frenzy. And here we're going to look at Gravatar. And you can fly beneath the mountains if you have the invincibility code on. Use the infinite fuel cheat, or the attract mode will restart. It'll say out of fuel or something, and the attract mode will restart. The player can actually take over the controls, I think, in the UFO or asteroids type of sequence. And you can keep playing through stages as long as you don't let yourself run out of fuel or put on the infinite fuel cheat. So you have 99,999 units of fuel up there because I put the cheat in. But yeah, Gravatar was freaking hard. I could never get used to that game. And yeah, you can control these asteroids type of sequences here. You'll run into a UFO or try to select your stage. And in just a moment here, we're going to look at Joust. Joust was another one I could never do very well on. Yeah, here we go. But here in this part of the attract mode, if you have invincibility on, and I guess there's different variances of invincibility on. I think I used like intangibility, invincibility or something. But the bird will just run through enemies. He's supposed to bounce backwards off of the second player there. But he'll just run through enemies. He'll run through the pterodactyl. The second player here can't be destroyed either. Eventually, the pterodactyl will appear and go through I think the first and second player multiple times, and then then the game will go back to the high score list. Yeah, the pterodactyl's too low to get jabbed in the beak and destroyed. Now we're going to look at Jungle King. Jungle Hunt performs the same way, I believe. But if you have invincibility on here, you will still be able to catch a vine even if you've clearly dropped off of one and should die. Right here. Whoop. Then this part will end and you go to the next part. And in here, you should have died when the bubbles push you up to the surface and a crocodile touches you, but no, you skip to this part. Here you can die, and you'll die when you touch a rock, even if you have invincibility on, and the computer will eventually touch a rock here and die. But you'll go to the fourth stage, and here you can't die. You will actually be able to rescue the girl, but then you go to this screen. Now we're going to look at Kangaroo, and I apologize for this small screen. I could not help that. Here you will rescue Joey. That's how this part, or no, this part you were supposed to get nailed by a falling apple, I believe, or maybe, yeah, I think so. But you will eventually save Joey with the invincibility cheat on. And then it goes to that screen. Now we're going to look at Liberator. This was a hard game. Missiles will go through the northeast cannon here. That wasn't supposed to happen. They were supposed to destroy it. And then you go back to the high score list eventually. Yeah, this is a tough game. It's a lot like Missile Command, which Atari also made. And now we're going to look at Locomotion. It's an interesting little slide puzzle type of game. Eventually, the computer will beat a stage, and crazy trains, which are created when you run out of time in a bonus area that you try to pass through. Crazy trains can collide with each other and destroy themselves, and if they do it near an edge where those bonus areas appear, then they'll destroy that part or keep it from appearing. And if you do a loop multiple times, then this creature called a looper will pursue you, but you'll be invincible from that, as well as falling off an edge where there's an open space. So yeah, with invincibility on, you can't die. The computer will eventually beat a stage, and it'll move on to another. I do not remember this in arcades back in the day. Had an Intellivision port. See, that's the looper. It just goes right through you. You have a speed up button that you can use. Yeah, it's a cute little game. Created by Konami and licensed to Century. I think if a bonus area is not filled in numerous times, then it'll just disappear on its own. So you go to another stage. And now we're going to look at looping with invincibility. The computer will open up the terminal by shooting where it says terminal enough times. It'll open up a wall that allows you to go to the second area, which is a bunch of pipes. This game is so freaking hard. But with invincibility, the computer will go through all the pipes and it'll reach the area called the end. But you have to turn the invincibility cheat off just before you touch where it says the end to be able to actually complete the stage. There's balls bouncing around very hyperactively, so it's very tough to turn it off in time. But you'll bounce backwards and then bounce off that wall and get to where it says the end. And there, I turned it off. And then you go back to the high score list, I believe. If you don't turn off invincibility, you'll just bounce back and forth there. Now we're going to look at millipede. The computer will actually beat the millipede and pass that onto a mosquito wave, and then just shoot a bunch of mosquitoes, and then after that, it's back to the beginning of the attract mode. It's a good sequel to Centipede, kind of fun. Very, very similar to play, but there's new enemies, and here's the mosquito area. It should have been hit by a mosquito by now and died, but that didn't happen. Yeah, there it goes back to that screen. Now we're going to look at Moon Patrol with an invincibility code. There will be a part here where shortly after this buggy that you drive was supposed to crash, the area will not end, and it will have no enemies or craters at that point. You can shoot or jump over enemies, and there will be craters in the ground that you need to jump over, or you will crash. This was a very cool game for its time, created by IREM and licensed to Williams. I'd seen that this game was kind of like rebooted or sort of remade, maybe just for computers or something. This has enemies that appear only after you've beaten the game once. See, he just rolls over the craters with the invincibility code, and now it just won't end. And there's no enemies or craters here. That's the attract mode for Moon Patrol with invincibility. Now we're going to look at the classic Mr. Do. This also has a speed up cheat like Dig Dug. And I will show the speed up cheat with invincibility, and just plain old invincibility. And after each thing that you or each attract mode that you complete, you will go back to the high score list. And there he did not have invincibility on, but he had the speed up cheat. Now he has the speed up cheat and invincibility. Yeah, I was a huge fan of this game. This came out in late 1982, several months after Dig Dug. But it really held its own. It's got some very cool elements that Dig Dug does not have. I still think Dig Dug's better, but this was a lot of fun. This was a great game. A number of home ports. Yeah, eventually the computer will find a way to kill all the monsters or eat all the cherries. I didn't like the bouncing ball as much as I liked the air pump in Dig Dug. I always thought that the monsters looked like mummies when they were digging through the dirt. And here he just has plain old invincibility and not the speed up cheat. And he is eventually supposed to run into a monster right about here, but he goes right through and he eats all the cherries to end the stage. And goes back to the high score list. Now we're going to look at Naughty Boy, and this was a weird little game by Jaleco, licensed to Cinematronics. You throw rocks to hit the monsters, and 2 shots will destroy them. But here he goes through monsters. He cannot scroll upward past those walls where that dragon is sticking its head out of. He will not go past, so there is no beating this attract mode with invincibility on, and it'll just keep going and going. That question mark that you saw earlier, you want to hit that with your rock, because that'll make yourself invincible for a short time. See, he's not going to scroll past these walls here, so the computer can't beat the attract mode. This was kind of fun. I kind of liked it back in the day. I remember it at Malibu Grand Prix when it was brand new. And now we're going to look at Pac-Man Plus. And Pac-Man, like in the first game, if you have invincibility on in the attract mode, the computer will leave just a few dots left and not finish the attract mode. Unless maybe if you leave it for like hours, he might eventually finish it, but I don't know. I don't have that kind of time, sorry. But from what I'd seen in this one, he will leave some dots. He will not get that bonus prize, which will make every ghost invisible, and they'll be worth a lot more points if you can catch them. But we'll just speed up here and show that there's some dots that he just does not seem to want to get. And that's those dots there. But next we're going to look at CONGO. Fantastic classic. The computer will beat the stage. They might do some weird things, but eventually the stage will be beaten. In this attract mode, they will put the 3 diamond blocks together to get the big bonus, although the points aren't tallied up in the attract mode. Boy, did I love this game back in the day. I think I first saw it at a very small hole-in-the-wall arcade at an outdoor plaza or a strip mall or whatever you want to call it. It was called PAC-MAN, and it didn't last very long in that location. It was gone sometime in 1983, I believe. But boy, did I love this game. It was fun. Eventually, Pingo will jiggle the wall repeatedly, and he will not collect the prone bodies of the snow bees, but eventually it will wake up and try to leave the maze, which it did here. And then you will go on to the next stage. And eventually, Pingo can beat a couple stages in a row. The computer will make him do that. And then instead of the cutscene, the title screen will appear over the text. It's very weird looking. And then it goes to another stage here. Now we're going to look at Pepper 2, and this was a cool take on Amadar by Exidy. You will, with invincibility on, you're always a devil, and you can always eat those eyes. But Pepper 2 will just kind of run around between the mazes, and eventually the game will go back to the title screen. He might fill in some boxes, but he won't have time to beat all the mazes. I really liked this back in the day. I remember seeing it at Wonderland, a nickel arcade in Portland, Oregon, back in the day. Really enjoyed it. Now we're going to look at the classic pole position. And in this, after you were supposed to collide with a car or maybe a sign on the side of the road, you just keep on driving until you go to the high score list. Boy, was this revolutionary for its time. Goodness. Yeah, you were supposed to crash there, but you plow through the rival cars, and they explode, but you do not. Yeah, it just goes to the high score list. And next we're going to look at a cutesy Konami game called Puyon. Mama Pig trying to defend her baby pigs from wolves. The computer is very accurate with its shooting in the attract mode. With invincibility on, that's all you need. There's also a cheat where the wolves can't push a giant boulder if they all reach the top or bottom, depending on the stage. Actually, on some stages, yeah, they will go upwards, and that code will keep them from building pushing a boulder down on you. But Mama Pig's shooting is so good in the attract mode that she will not let that happen. So all you need is just plain invincibility cheat, and she will eventually beat a stage. Now on the even stages, the wolves will rise up to the top, and Mama Pig will eventually face a boss. There will also be balloons that take multiple hits to destroy. See, there's one wolf with a boulder, but I don't need the can't push boulder cheat. Eventually there will be the pink boss wolf, and you can actually shoot his balloon like 5 times to destroy him. I did not know that before. I thought you had to clobber him with a chunk of meat. This game is so cute, I love it. Created by Konami and licensed to Stern in the US. Puyan. And now we're going to look at Q*bert. Only in the second attract mode will the invincibility code work. In the first part, Q*bert will fall off and die, and invincibility will not stop that. He was supposed to die there, but it just goes back to the high score screen. Now we're going to look at Quantum, created by General Computer Corporation. The computer will not even try to encircle the particles. It just follows them, and it might go right through them. And then it goes back to the title screen. Kind of lame attract mode invincibility. And now we're going to look at Super Pac-Man. You can have invincibility, and you can also have an everlasting super speed cheat. With the invincibility, Pac-Man just goes to the bottom left corner and just is stuck there. They won't move. With the everlasting super speed cheat, it's the same outcome. There will be a giant Pac-Man going to the bottom left and just sticking there. I really enjoyed this game. This was cool. I liked it because it was easier than Pac-Man or Ms. Pac-Man. I got to a point where I could follow a certain pattern, and I could beat most of the stages quite easily. And the bonus rounds were super easy to complete. Note that you have to eat keys to open certain doors. This is kind of a cool idea. I enjoyed this immensely. But yeah, that won't go back to the high score screen or anything, and you'll just be stuck there. Now we're going to look at Super Zaxxon, and boy, was this hard. This was a sped up version of Zaxxon. You will not die when you're out of fuel if you use the invincibility cheat. You don't have to use the infinite fuel cheat. You'll eventually reach the dragon, and after the dragon retreats, you will go to the high score list. The dragon will spit out a fireball that takes several shots to hit. Yeah, the computer will often not be in a position to take out enemy ships or something. And see, I'm getting a warning that my fuel is low. It drains a lot faster inside a fortress than when you're facing enemies. And I'm totally out, but no, I'm not dead. And he's not at the right height to destroy that dragon. It goes back to the high score list. And now we're going to look at Tron. Now, if you are on the tank area and you have invincibility on, you will eventually beat the tank with your shots. You can go into that pink diamond in the center and warp to a different part in the stage, or it could shoot through that diamond area, and I used to do that all the time to take out the first enemy quite easily, the first tank stage. And then you go back to the main screen here. If you do the MCP cone area, the computer will beat it. Not only beat it, but they will take out all the blocks and get to the NPC cone. And they will get bonus points for doing both. Because normally touching those blocks will kill you. And then with the light cycles sequence, when you crash the enemy car or make them crash, it will go to the main screen, and you can make I think you can go through the walls and stuff too. And now this is the grid bug area. You will eventually enter the beam and go to the main screen. I think the computer was able to do this anyway in the track mode, so I guess I didn't really need to include this. I loved this game when it came out. It was a lot of fun. And next we're going to look at Tutankhamun, classic by Konami and licensed to Stern. Eventually, the explorer here will not be able to quite finish the stage. They will almost reach the end, but just stop short and just kind of putz around a little bit. Kind of annoying, because they come real close to that door. Eventually they were supposed to be killed by a bat here, but not with invincibility on. See, he gets to about here, and that's as far as he goes. He kind of putzes around here. Maybe he'll move a little backwards or something. Kind of annoying. But yeah, he will not beat the stage. I remember seeing this at Malibu Grand Prix and my local grocery store. Now we're going to look at Xevious, and the computer will fly through all the scenes with the title screen there with the invincibility code on. You'll see all the enemies. You'll even see the kind of boss. What was his name? Andor Genesis. The computer might even be able to bomb the Soul Citadels, the hidden fortresses. But yeah, you'll see all the enemies eventually, including those giant walls. I can't remember what the hell they were called. There's even the was that the Nazca lines and the bowling ball thingies. And like I said, eventually you'll see Andor Genesis. And when you see that one wall there, that means that it's almost there. There it is. Computer will not be able to bomb it. It'll fly off on its own accord eventually. But you'll just keep going through all the stages or all the areas. I remember when this first came out, I saw it at an arcade in Tigard, Oregon called Astrocade. And now we're going to look at regular old Zaxxon by Sega. And the same thing as Super Zaxxon. You won't die when you run out of fuel if you have the invincibility cheat. And you'll just keep on going, and you'll face the robot eventually. And when the computer fails to destroy the robot will back up, and you'll go to the high score list. And that will almost end our 1982 games, and then I'll go to 1983 games in just a moment. We'll first look at Zookeeper. But yeah, again, notice that your fuel runs out a lot slower when you're in space fighting enemy ships. Oh, they call them enemy planes. And the game freezes for just a second right there because it was supposed to display the title, Zaxxon. It doesn't do that here. And note your ship is blue because you're supposed to be out of fuel, but that's not happening. And he's not at the right altitude to take out the robot boss. So just backs up, and you go to the high score list. And now we're going to look at Zookeeper. This is the second part of the attract mode. A snake is supposed to kill you here, but it doesn't. And then you go to the high score list. And now we're going to look at 1983 games, starting with Arabian. The computer will complete the first stage after it went through an enemy. And then it'll also play the third stage. The computer will collect all the baskets with letters on them and spell it in the right order to spell Arabian. And they would get a bonus for doing so. And now we're going to look at Cloak and Dagger by Atari. Cool game. With the invincibility code on, that bomb in the center will not explode. The bomb won't go off. The agent just runs against the bomb eventually and continues to shoot in a number of directions. It'll eventually take out both robots and that eye creature, but it'll just shoot at the wall for points, and the bomb will not go off. You have a button that can start the bomb early and give you bonus points if you can get out in time. And now we're going to look at Congo Bongo. There is no invincibility cheat, but there is a cheat called No Sprite on Sprite Collision. And it doesn't have any effect on the first stage that it shows in the attract mode. You'll eventually die from falling too far. And here you can go through the rhinoceroses. This is probably the hardest stage in the game. Eventually the computer will run out of time, but it won't die from loss of time. The computer will walk off the edge of the cliff to his death. And that's how it will end the attract mode. And invincibility will not prevent you from dying from that. I remember this in the arcades for sure back in the day. I was able to beat this in the arcade once, all the way through. I was pretty surprised. See, a computer will just walk off the edge and die. Not too bad a game. And now we're going to look at Crystal Castles by Atari. Fun game. You will have the invincibility hat, or Bentley the Bear will. Eventually, he will just go to the bottom center and just jump every few seconds. He'll never complete the maze. Bees will descend down on you eventually, and nothing will happen. Kind of dull. There's my name on the top, RUS, well, short of one S. Yeah, if you get a high score, you get to put your name on the buildings. Kind of cool. Or at least 3 letters. Now we're going to look at elevator action. Eventually, there's 2 invincibility codes. One is in the dip switches. This is not the dip switch one, I don't think. Eventually, you will fall off an edge, but the game will not go off this screen. You'll just be stuck there. And then there's a second invincibility cheat. Look, there's a lot of doors now. Really weird looking. This is the other invincibility cheat. Eventually, the computer will just start jumping and spazzing out and shooting left and right. And you won't. In either situation, the computer will not come close to beating a level. Not remotely. In fact, they might just go backwards to the top. See, he's just kind of spazzing out, jumping, shooting. But that's the attract mode with invincibility on for elevator action. Boy, did I love this game back in the day. I was crazy about it. A lot of fun. Fans of 007, James Bond would really eat that up. Now we're going to look at Exerion by Jalico, and eventually your ship, after going through the enemy, will just hug the left edge and not do anything more. Or no, you'll be shot, and then you'll just stay at the left edge and do nothing. Kind of lame. But next up, we're going to look at Food Fight. And this was another General Computer Corporation game. In that attract mode part, you'll be able to reach the ice cream cone. Then in this part, Charlie Chuck, the protagonist, will just stand over an open hole and freeze. Then in another one, you'll go through that chef and you'll collect the cone. This was a cool game for its time. I really enjoy it. And next we're going to look at Guzzler. In this one, the computer will beat every stage that it faces. And it'll go to like the high score list or the title screen or something after it completes each one. After the bonus points are tabulated. But it'll keep going to another screen eventually. And eventually it will go to the first cutscene. And then it'll go back to either the title screen or the high score list. Yeah. Now we're going to look at Gyrus. And in this one, your shots will go through most enemies in flight, which is weird with the invincibility code on. Eventually, all the enemies will leave the screen. And then you'll just kind of float around shooting at nothing for a little while. And then after a little while, you'll go to the title screen. So it's kind of annoying. You shoot right through the flying enemies. You can pick off enemies from afar, I think, in the distance, or at least some of them. Yeah, you can't even get double shots from shooting that planetoid, or bonus points from shooting at its buddies. I really liked Gyrus. The music is just knockout. Great classic by Konami. Yeah, you don't even fly to another planet. Just goes to the title screen. Now we're going to look at iRobot. Now there's just a brief part here where you can have a eye never shows cheat, where the eye can't zap you and you just go right to the high score list. Kind of lame. And now we're going to look at Journey. Now there's, if you have invincibility on the Neil Sean scene, you can fly right through the walls. Nothing can hurt you, but the computer will not beat the stage. It'll get stuck, and you'll have to turn the cheat off so that he can die. Yeah, you die by touching any of the walls or touching any of those things that are flying. Your goal is to touch that yellow platform or whatever at the top. This was kind of an interesting game for its time. Kind of cheesy, kind of dumb, but I kind of enjoyed it. It was new and it was unique, and Journey was a really, really, really hot band at the time. Had their Frontiers album previous to this game's release. But apart from that, the computer can play through all the other stages, and here's the drum stage with Steve Smith. And once he turns all the drums blue, then he'll jump on the drum set and he'll shoot these infinity symbols. But he'll get hit and freeze because he has the invincibility cheat on. There, he should have died. And eventually the computer will make him go down and touch that yellow platform and this stage here. Come on. And there we go. And from this point on, you can control the game. You can control the scarab there. If you run out of time here, the computer will just make you land on a planet. And you can control the guy here. You can make him die and fall into the abyss. Or fall into the abyss and die. But I decided to grab that guitar with Ross Valerie and shoot these records and make my way to the yellow platform and end this part of the stage. If you die once, then you'll go to the high score list. And here's Steve Perry, the lead singer. No longer the lead singer for Journey. Forget the new singer's name, but he sounds just like Steve Perry. And eventually, you'll get to be Herbie and protect the band from crazy people trying to storm the stage. And then you get to start all the stages over under your control. That is the attract mode with invincibility on for Journey. And I purposely killed myself so I can go to the high score list. And now we're going to look at Juno First. I don't remember seeing this in the arcades. The computer will not beat a stage with invincibility on, but if he runs out of time, he will die, even with invincibility on, and he will go to the high score list. He will just kind of, I think, hug the wall eventually, fly forward and fly backward, continuously shooting, but he will not be able to kill all the enemies. And we'll scoot forward to me running out of time, or the computer running out of time, and dying. It goes to the high score list. Now we're going to look at good old Mappy, Namco classic. Eventually, Mappy will fall through a trampoline at the bottom right, and then he will be stuck there. Eventually, the game will go to the high score list, and then the graphics will be messed up. Be kind of weird looking. There might be some weird sound effects too. But yeah, he'll go right, and eventually just keep bouncing on the bottom right trampoline there. It'll turn red, and then he'll break through and be stuck there. And like I said, the graphics will be kind of messed up in just a moment when it goes back to the title screen or something. Or no, the high score list. Weird. Looks pretty weird, and it doesn't stop there. Okay then. Yeah, this is fun. It's kind of tough to not get surrounded on the floors sometimes by cats that will kill you, and then you're kind of screwed. A lot of trampoline bouncing sounds for no reason. Now we're going to look at Nibbler, and with invincibility on, you can still run out of time and die. There is an infinite time cheat that I've got on right here, but your worm or centipede or whatever it is will only travel around the edges, and that's it. And it will not go back to the attract mode or the high score list, or reset the attract mode or whatever. But that was my look at games, classic 70s, 80s arcade games with invincibility in their attract modes. Well, I thank you for watching, and I hope you join me for another part in this series. Take it easy, everybody, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.